Hi everybody. Welcome to this series of focusing conversations through which you will get to know the extraordinary members of our online forest training program. I'm so pleased to include you via these videos in our exciting and timely project of using Genlin's focusing to empower community life.
So, hi, I'm so glad we can have this time together.
Thank you for saying so. I'm glad too. I believe in the mission.
In the mission of community empowerment.
That's right. I mean, I'd like to hear you describe the mission specifically of this class, because I just feel like when you have a seed, that's your idea. It's your seed, and I'd just love for you to describe it to me a little bit.
I'd be very glad to, but I'm curious about what you believe. You know, when you say you believe in the mission, like what is it for you? And then I'll tell you what it is to me, because it's really kind of a collection of what all of us want.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, what I heard from John when he got your first email was, oh, Lynn in New York is doing a focusing training. I'm not sure exactly how he put it, but it's to do with how polarized the country is politically, and this is so awful, let's do something about it.
Yes.
And so the doing something about it seemed to be the founding kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And what to do about it? Well, dialogue and talk and communicate on a more heartfelt level.
Yes.
And also I heard using focusing as a tool.
Yeah. Yeah. You articulated that much better than I could. And tell me what you believe about it. So that was what you heard I was doing.
So I believed you. I believed that. I thought, oh, that's what she wants to do. That sounds really good. I think it might have gotten a little confused where John thought for me, oh, here's a lovely thing for you, darling. Here's a lovely thing for you. This will help you to feel nurtured. He thought it would be nurturing. That's what he thought. I didn't necessarily hear, he didn't say that, but like later he said that, because we sort of jumped into the group, or I did, and it didn't feel nurturing.
Yeah.
It felt like, oh God, now I'm awake at night, now I'm stressing this, what just happened, what the hell's going on. It was distressing.
Yes. The distressing rather than nurturing.
Distressing rather than nurturing. And so John said, well, you don't have to do it. And I thought, well, now I do, because I feel very strongly about not giving up on things of such nature. You don't give up. You hold out hope and strength, and if what you need to do is put a picture of your children on your front dashboard of your car, so that when you're going forward, you're like, doing it for you, darling, got to go, doing it. And my friend has that, and it struck me very deeply that she put a photograph of her sons on her windshield, not windshield, but like dash.
Yes. Yes, it really spoke to you, and maybe metaphorically you're doing that, putting a picture.
Yeah, I do have a picture of my children, and my
Yeah,
children are all of them.
all of your children.
All of them, meaning all of them in the world,
All of them in the world.
including the naughty ones.
I love that. See, you have on your dashboard not only a picture. I heard you talk about how proud you are of your son, but not only your son, but all the children in the world, all of the people, including the naughty ones.
Including the naughty ones, and especially the naughty ones.
Actually, the naughty ones. I see.
But
Yeah.
like, but I do have that question, like, what was the seed? What was the thought for you when you went into this, when this was planted?
Well, I think you articulated it very well, that I felt like the world is our world, and the world is so polarized and fragmented. And I felt like as a focusing teacher that focusing can really help here, and let's experiment with that,
Mhm.
because focusing has mostly been used um, in self-care and in dyads, partnerships, um, and it hasn't been used as much in community, although recently it is being much more used in community and groups. So it was an experiment to see, well, how do we use focusing? How can focusing help us to have real dialogue across difference?
Mhm.
And that idea that you got from John, that I wanted to see if focusing can help us be less polarized. You were on for that. But yes, that's
Yeah, absolutely. But what I thought is, I thought, oh, how lovely. It's going to be a group of focusers, and then it will feel very nurturing, and we'll get lots of strength from this. And
uh,
then we'll go out and uh, proselytize the,
I
the love, you know,
yes,
then.
yes, I really get it. That your vision of it was that the nurturing and the challenge of dialogue across difference would sort of go together, and that we would be learning uh, about dialogue across difference, and we would be all together as the focusers, and then we would go out and talk to the other people who are different. You
Right.
didn't you didn't expect that we would be living the process with our own differences.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. And then later, the feeling is, what was I thinking? I thought we'd all be on the same page.
Yes. I can see how shocked you were that you thought we would all be this compatible huddle of nurturing focusers, and that we would learn these skills about bringing it, and then after that we would go out into the fray. And instead, here we are trying to communicate across our own differences.
Yeah, and it's hard.
It's hard, yes. It's sort of like throwing you in at the deep end of the pool in a way, isn't it?
Well, I was thinking more like a vat of acid.
Oh no, it's not that. Oh wow.
Well, I make tinctures, herbal tinctures, and I use a very strong organic grape alcohol, which is an incredible solvent. And when you put the plants in, it sucks the juice right out of them. You know,
Wow.
yeah. So you put the plants in, and you can put several different kinds of plants in, should you choose to do that, and the juice gets sucked out, and then you have a liquid that includes all of them. That's then the plant community inside the bottle.
That's fascinating. The plant community inside and that's sort of what we have, right? Is
Yes, that's what it feels like. I mean, I'd rather not. Look, if I could pick and choose, I wouldn't have chosen some of the plants. But here they are. And which brings me to a dream that I had very shortly after that November 4th, which was about plants. And I dreamed that I walked into Ina's garden, and in the garden there I saw the little house, the little sort of witchy house, because that's how I saw her in the dream. There were plants around the outside, and they were the datura, this very poisonous plant, but that also opens up the sight. And they have a trumpet, and these trumpets were going, "You're not welcome, you're not welcome, go away, go away, go away."
Wow.
And I thought, I was like shocked, and I thought, well, let me try again. So I took another couple of steps towards the plants, and they said, "You're not welcome, go away." And I thought, okay, all right, let's we'll go in another way. So I went into the house, and I saw all these incredible crystals and magical things in there. And this was Ina's house, you know, the magical Ina. And I saw all these incredible like animal parts and rocks and stones and plants, and I was like looking around. I was fascinated. I thought, wow, look at this, you know, she's got lots of medicine in here. And I went and I saw this pouch, and oh, what's in there? And I go in there, there's a white crystalline substance, and I thought, oh, wonder if that's poisonous. Let's have a taste. So I put my little fingers in there. I thought, let's try this. Not dead yet. You know. And so I tried the medicine, the Ina medicine, and didn't kill me. And so I came out of the house, and then I saw these comfrey plants dancing joyfully. And that's one of my favorite plants because it heals skin and bones and creates structure within the body. And these plants were sort of dancing around, and oh, look at that, it's lovely, you know. And I had those around me, and I felt they gave me a feeling of strength and joy. And I went dancing off into the forest. I thought, okay, well, with these plants, then I feel strong enough to go into the forest. So,
wow, that is an amazing dream. Absolutely amazing dream. And this dream came after Ina had said, "I'm one of them."
Yeah, that's correct.
Shocked. She's one of them, right? And we didn't know exactly what she meant by that at that time, but you were taken aback and very shocked.
Yeah.
In the dream, she sort of has this magical house with all of these medicines, magical healing things. But some of them, the one thing you said, well, I'm not dead yet, you thought could kill you. It could be poisonous. But it didn't.
Right. And I also chose to take the medicine, knowing that I didn't know what it was.
Wow.
But that it belonged to Ina, and I was curious about it.
You are a very courageous person, right? That you chose to take this training, not knowing anybody in the training, and you chose to take this this medicine. You didn't know what it was or what it would do, and you were curious. And I was also so struck by the trumpet plant saying, "Go away, you're not welcome," and that those plants, if I understood right, those plants are healing the site.
Yes, so I mean, take it as you wish, but in plant medicine and in flower essence therapy, the datura is about seeing into the future, just seeing in general. And it's also about death, so death and rebirth, but be careful where you tread, because it's highly poisonous. And so people might use it as a microdose or just to have the plants to interact with.
When you say that, what comes to you about your association with Aina as having these plants that could give you vision of ultimate things like death, but are also poisonous, and you have to take in a small dose? And these plants were telling you, "Go away, you're not welcome."
So your question is, what do I make of that, or what?
Yeah, like if you feel into the experience of that as associated with Aina, that seems like a beautiful poem about how you felt about Aina saying, "I'm one of them."
I was confused, and I felt sad, and betrayed by myself, by my own heart, you know.
Betrayed by your own heart. That
She's a beautiful woman, you know. She's got these crazy ass bunches that she puts on her head, you know. And you're like, my God, you know, what's that? How interesting, you know, like, is she Dutch? Is she this? You know, what is this?
the magical house, like maybe the witch-like in a way, hut.
Yeah, I mean, she just is so innocuous. I want to say at first or so, or that was my view. But I think, like she said, far more complex. Just let me be me, you know, let me be my complex self.
So there was a betrayal of your heart, because your heart was drawn to her in her beauty, and then you were surprised at this complexity, at this aspect that maybe could feel dangerous or unwelcoming. Or
Well, I assumed, as others did, that when she said other, she meant Trump supporter. But, you know, in a way, she did, because there's backup information about, well, he's done some good things, and, you know, so not altogether not a supporter.
yes,
I felt hurt and betrayed.
betrayed. Let's take a breath here. Wow. I'm wondering if that was the feeling when the trumpet flowers were saying, go away, you are not welcome. If that was that hurt and betrayed feeling.
Right. And I asked on the chat, please, what are you saying here? You know, what are you talking about? You know, please explain. And there was sort of a ruckus, I would say, within the energy of the group. I would describe it that way. But it felt like the boat was rocked. I mean, sort of, that was it. It's like, okay, now you're left with this very unsettled feeling,
Yeah.
and no help.
Yeah.
You know, like, what the fuck, you know? Can you please give me some explanation of this? Please tell me. And then there was nothing. There was like a silence, a radio silence. And honestly, with you know, Joe coming out and saying, I'm also an other, I'm a Trump supporter, I'm like you, we're together in this, you know, it's that explanation didn't come for weeks. I don't know, a month. She kept on letting me, anybody, believe that she was a Trump supporter, especially when Joe kept saying like, hey, you know, I'm a Trump supporter too, you know, and she didn't say, actually not, you know, I need to explain that. Actually, I'm a Marxist Bernie person, you know, I just really, really hate Biden, you know, because they stole it away from Bernie.
Right.
You know, in that view. Okay, that's very reasonable. But what I don't understand is the lack of care around that, leaving it just hanging there for weeks like
Yeah,
a corpse.
like a corpse.
Right.
You were left all alone with that jarring, that feeling of you're not welcome, you're go away, of danger, of betrayal, of heartbrokenness somehow.
And no help around
No help around that. Yes.
that.
Right, right. Right.
Why didn't Ina help us more? Me more? Why? Why did she not explain? I asked for explanation. The chat was cut off. You know, I don't know whose idea was that. Isabel's idea, your idea, you know, so that incredible feeling of not feeling safe was unpleasant.
You needed her to say more, and she wasn't saying more at that point. And then also the group was processing the group's feelings, rather than Ina kind of coming in there and settling you in some kind of way.
Or you.
Or me, yes.
I mean, why didn't you ask her?
Well, I didn't ask her because, let me see, I have to feel back into that moment. I didn't want it to be an interrogation, which it could feel like, what do you mean by that? How could you be a Trump supporter? I didn't know that she wasn't a Trump supporter at the time. I didn't know until the next session. So I assumed she meant that she was a Trump supporter also. I didn't want to interrupt the group process of people's feelings about that in their not knowing, because I think from my point of view, that's what we are about, is how can we find the safety in our focusing, in our community, in our togetherness, in the not being able to understand, the not knowing where another person is coming from. And I didn't want to interrupt other people from expressing their feelings about what she said, and make closure on it quickly. I don't know if that helps though, but I think that what you're saying is that it felt very hurtful to you, and that you felt left alone, and that you wish that I had asked her and made more closure at that point, that would have settled something in some kind of way.
Can you tell us more about that? Maybe something like that. Can you tell us more about that? What it is? What is it that you hold sacred?
Mm-hmm. That would have been a wonderful question. I love that, Monica, what you're saying. And I think that it was quite early in our process together. And I don't think that people were able to have that spirit that you're talking about of can you say more there? Because people were upset. So it wouldn't come across like that at that moment. Later on, it would. I think when Joe said that he was a Trump supporter, I think there was we had learned something. There was a different latitude. I think you had a different feeling about it?
Joe's a white man. I expect much less from him. You know, in some way, I wouldn't hold him to the standards that I would hold
Ina.
a woman with a heart. Yes, I know.
It was also something about your feeling to Ina that seemed like this magical person with a big heart, and these beautiful crystals and medicines in your dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was so struck, Monica, in the dream when the trumpet flowers are saying, "Go away, you're not welcome." You didn't go away.
No, absolutely no. I mean, I always wanted to know what was going on.
Yeah, you are very, you are very persistent. And when
I am persistent, and you know, I don't altogether mean what I said about Joe. You know, I okay, maybe I don't hold him to the same standards as Ina, as a woman and a magical European beautiful woman. Um, I, but you know, he does have religion, presumably. You know, I was brought up a Catholic, so you know, I know what it feels like to be in a beautiful, religious, love-filled, God-filled, Jesus-filled environment. You know, I went to a beautiful, beautiful Catholic school in Ipswich, in Suffolk, in England, called St. Mark's, and Mr. Keating was the headmaster, and he had a heart of gold. You know, just absolutely incredible. You know, the people in there, except for a couple, you know, you know, can't have everything. There's going to be a couple of poisonous plants in every mixture, probably.
so you also associate Joe with the beauty of that Catholic school and that Catholic
Right,
background.
right, because I think that, you know, that's in him. No, I don't think it's in him. I know it's in him.
You
You know, I
know,
see it. You know, it's in the, it's, he's got the beautiful candle burning in the background and the crucifix, and there's kindness and love there.
yes.
He's a betrayer too.
They're two very different experiences of being confronted with difference that you didn't expect in joining this project. The one with Ina and the one with Joe, and both of them were incredibly difficult, and you persisted. You persisted.
And I persist. I mean, he hasn't blocked me yet.
The dream, you go around to the other side and go in the house. You don't go away, and you try the medicine even though it could kill you, and you say, "Oh, I'm still alive." You know, I maybe I'm heartbroken about Ina betraying me, but I'm still here. I'm still okay.
Yeah, I'm not heartbroken over Joe,
Yes, that's
because I honestly, I've come to expect a lack of political will, of love and respect for women and minorities from white men.
there's a whole different set of assumptions about a white man than about uh, European um, beautiful woman. It's a whole different set of assumptions, expectations. And it seems like both of those sets of expectations are being challenged in this training. That it's like, well, what is Joe really like? What is Ina really like is in there along with the betrayal and the hurt.
Well, I think we all want the same things. Yeah, I think Ina and I and Joe, I think we all want the same things. You know, what hurts is the methods. Violence begets violence.
So I'm going to say that back to you that we all want the same things, but it feels to you like the methods are different. I'd like to take a breath here and maybe change the channel, if that's okay with you.
Yes, try it to change the channel. And if I don't like the channel, I'm going to switch it back or to a different one.
Oh, yes, of course. Of course. That seems like the same spirit as in the dream, right?
We could talk about how lovely Jim is.
What did you imagine when I said to change the channel?
It's not what I imagined that what it would be. It's more I guess the power of having control of the TV. You know, it's more about that. You know, it's like when it's like being interrupted or cut off. You know, it's that subject. You know, being interrupted or cut off. It's like, okay, well, I wasn't done with that. You know,
yes.
And like really not done. And now it's like getting worse. Like that.
Now it's getting worse.
No, well, I'm describing that a couple of times in the class.
Yeah.
I had felt cut off or interrupted. You know, like when Isabel said, can I jump in here? When I said, I think I was being told, like, you can't pick your own focusing partners. You have to take what you're given. And I said, oh, no, I don't. I shall pick my own focusing partner. And you can also give me another one. That's lovely, you know, and I'll do that too. But what I'm doing here is I really need to feel like I have some safety in this group. You know, it's like I came into it. I was choosing between taking Ann Weiser Cornell's Path to Lasting Change and this group, and I thought, well, this is free. You know, free is good. That's a good price. Ann Weiser Cornell's is really expensive, but I have a really strong felt sense that I want to take Ann Weiser Cornell's course. So, you know, I kept sort of stressing that because I don't have a lot of money to throw around. And what I came to is like, wait a minute, no, wait, I can do this. I can do both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I had a feeling that this one would be very disorganized. And I just felt this energy of sort of disorganization, but also what I might have been feeling was the what do you call it when you dismantle things? You know, the dismantling, but you could say dismantling of thought forms. So that was the feeling that I got, was that energy. And Anne's course felt like, I really want to do this. She speaks in baby language. I like that. You know, it's very clear. It's working for me. You know, so I did that as well as yours. So I had that safety net of being taught the steps, you know, because I didn't know anything about focusing, and fell in love with it immediately. I also wanted to do your class as well, but I felt very unsafe very quickly.
And my class really was meant for people who had more of a grounding in focusing. So you sort of are jumping in the deep end of the pool here. But you know, the channel that I wanted to go to was exactly the one that we slipped into.
Mm-hmm.
So I had wanted to continue the conversation about your feeling cut off, and felt like we were right in the middle of that conversation in our group, and I wanted to see if we could continue it a bit.
I was trying to reflect back to BJ, because what she said a lot of words about how she felt or how she viewed the capital the siege. And I wasn't sure how she was being received by the group. You know, and I was in the group. So I thought, well, let me have a go, you know, at trying to reflect back what she's saying. And she said, she was in awe. She kept using the word awe, AWE, about what was happening. And she also said, one of the things she said was that the people looked innocent, or there was some sort of innocence there. I felt like those words were interesting and potentially not being received positively. And what I took her to be saying was that, my God, look at this thing that's happening in front of our eyes. This is life-changing. This is history. This is an incredible thing that it just happened in US history and world history. And what I personally saw when I saw all that footage on television was, obviously you see this violence and the Confederate flag in the Capitol building and police officers getting beaten up and, you know, all of these horrible things happening. But you also see hundreds, thousands of people in the square kind of going, you know, and they're not kind of doing anything. They're just kind of there, and they almost look like they don't know why they're there.
Yes.
Or what they're doing. And, you know, maybe innocent isn't the right word, but if you sort of grouped together, as Jenlin would say, make up your own words, you know, but so if you group together the words innocent, ignorant, ill-prepared.
You wanted to reflect and sort of protect what BJ was saying. And then you felt very upset that I had interrupted when you weren't really finished doing that. And now again, in a way, in this moment, I'm interrupting.
Right.
Right? In this moment, letting you fully spell out what it is that you're saying. And I did that before when I, can we change the channel? And I think that has been a kind of struggle between us. That and when you said, well, I want control of the channel, right? It's this.
Well, I mean, I feel bad about like having the chat on the Zoom disabled, primarily because I wrote in it.
And that seems similar in a way of being interrupted before. There's this feeling of being cut off or interrupted before you've had a chance to fully spell out what's there for you.
It sounds like you want to go underneath that, and that's, I think, totally valid and useful. What I'm saying is, can you please let me have this experience of actually making contact? Why cut that off? Something's about to happen here if I can get to it.
Yes. And
this is a very positive thing. Okay, I know all the old stuff about my mom told me to shut up. I know all that already. I'm trying to do something new with my words and with my energy and saying, I believe what she's saying.
I get it, that it's also just about, it feels like I'm interrupting you just as you're about to get to really say it. And that's so frustrating. Like you're doing something new, not what you did with your mom, a different dance. You're getting to do something new with your words. And then just as you're about to get there, I interrupt. It's like I don't have the patience to let that last bit be spelled out in the way that it needs to. And I had been so touched in the group when you said that you felt like some people are more delicious than others, and that it felt like some people get to spell out what they want to say in a more leisurely way, or they don't get cut off. Like you were getting cut off more than some other people.
Not just me, but like, I mean, I think that Miko spoke a little before I said that. And I was curious about what she was trying to say, because to me, it wasn't super clear. And there are others who are clearer in their expression. And that's what I mean by delicious, is that, you know, that some people have very, very clear expression.
The clear expression people are rewarded, and that the people that take longer to say what they're needing to say are given short shrift, in a sense, or interrupted or cut off.
Yeah, I mean, yes. And I wonder about, you know, I understand that everyone needs to have a chance to talk. And I wonder if shutting certain people up, or not not letting the thing flow, is the way to get these other people to talk. You know, what I'm wondering is, you know, I asked myself, well, what would be the better way? You know,
what would be the better way?
what would be the better way to sort of to create space for people who have said little, or tend to say little, or haven't said anything that particular class, you know, rather than telling these people to be quiet, maybe what one could do is take a moment of silence with the entire group. It's just an idea, and say, okay, we're going to have a moment of silence, like a real moment, like a full minute or something like that. After we're all quiet, I want to invite whoever hasn't spoken yet this class. First, I want to invite whoever has really never said much at all. You know, and there's like 5 or 6 people, so it's not like you're putting one person on the spot. That's just what came up for me.
It's a beautiful idea, Monica. I wonder if maybe we can share that idea. The team is really looking for how do we make this resource of time, which is what we're living by here. You know, Jean Genlin talks about how in the old days, gold was the resource, you know, so things were measured by gold. And in contemporary time, what is the resource is really interhuman attention. And that's what we're living by. That's what we need. That's what we pay for. That's what we are exchange. And especially in the Zoom, on our Zoom thing, we have exactly this amount of time. This is our resources together. We're creating a community, a culture. How do we share those resources when I interrupt you, or interrupt Derek sometimes, or interrupt other people, as a way of making room for the quieter people to speak? That doesn't feel like a good way.
No, not to me.
Not to you. That
No.
doesn't feel like a way. But you're suggesting that we have a silence, and then invite the people who hardly ever speak, and then the people who haven't spoken in the class, and make it much more explicit that we're trying to make room for these people who don't speak easily.
Mm-hmm. And furthermore, what I found with working with a group of people in Freestone several days a week, but specifically on Thursdays, we'd have about 10 hours together, and where manufacturing beautiful breads, we're able to talk for 10 hours.
Mm.
And what happens is that on a given day, Monica might need more attention on something she's going through. And so we talk about that for hours on end, or we talk about what Katie's going through with her roommates or with her parents. You know, we'll talk about that for hours on end. And that can take up a whole Thursday. You know, it's mostly talking about Katie. And so or Desi or anybody. So what I'm wondering about in the class is that, you know, we've got, maybe I'm wrong about this, but we've got a certain amount of time till July or something. And like, what does it matter if one person gets in a sense, a lion's share of one class? It's just a question. I'm not saying like that should be answered, but it's just a question of how to manage the time, you know, because if someone like really felt heard, like Miriam said at the beginning, her hypothesis was that perhaps we can only listen to the extent that we've been listened to. So I wonder about that. And also, you know, maybe some people like really don't feel as listened to in general in their life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as others maybe have more of a satisfaction with that.
Yeah, so these are all wonderful questions about, you know, do we give more time to the people who haven't been listened to and need more time? Do we make the space all together for the quiet ones? How do we do this? I think also another issue from my point of view, we're trying to learn a particular skill that we're trying to develop. And it's the skill of conversation. And conversation is different than what's happening in your Thursday group, where you're listening to Katie, or you're listening, you know, your conversation is something like a ball game where the ball is going different places, and then the shape of the conversation moves forward with the input of all of these various pieces. But we need one person who's speaking to say just enough so that it sparks what others say, and then they'll come in, and then that person can come in again. But it's sort of like the kind of piece of music that the conversation is moving around and then has its own life. So in that skill of learning that focusing conversation, it might be that there'll be more time spent with one person, but that probably wouldn't be the usual thing for a focusing conversation, to have that sort of organic life. And I'm sort of trying to communicate that vision of focusing conversation as a model for community,
Mm-hmm.
for community cohesiveness, like in any kind of organization where you're going to need the input of the whole organization. Even the silent people are really giving their input there. You know, they're silently giving their input, and it's
well, right. That's why that's how a moment of silence gives a form to know that with their silence they're speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Let's sit with all the unsaid words.
Yes, thank you. I love that, and I think it'd be great to share that in the group, that idea. I'm so glad that we got a chance to have this hour together.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I really appreciate your courage and intellect and holding and desire to use your skills and yourself for the good.
Thank you. And I really appreciate your tenacity and your curiosity and your fortitude and your courage and your persistence. I'm sort of like BJ would say, I'm in awe of that spirit in you that isn't gonna, even when John said, well, you don't have to do this, that you aren't gonna give up, even when it's hard. So thank you very much, Monica.
Thank you, Lynn.